What is going on today, guys? So it's been a little bit of time, but the last time that you had seen us, we had went through and we were discussing about how these cylinder heads, this is the casting error issue cylinder head in the Ford 4-liter motors. So we did go ahead and get in new cylinder heads. These ones are just of the Rock Auto variety. And what we are going to do is we're going to take a look at getting these opened up real quick, because what we need to do today is we need to take some valve grinding compound, okay, the new valves that we ordered, they were super cheap on there, and we are going to go ahead and do valve lashing. So I've never done that, or I'm sorry, valve latching. I've never done this before, but from everything I'm reading, it's really easy. So that's what I'm hoping for, is that it's going to be really easy. So here are the new heads. Funny enough, so these all say late on them. I think it was like a casting 95 and a 98. And I think the 98 was the better one. The ones that were corrected where the 95s were junk. So again, I'm not entirely sure, but that's, from what I understand, that's what the case is. So we do need to lap the valves. What I'm more than likely going to do is, I've got the valve grind compound, but I'm going to use an old roadkill trick where you take a little bit of hose, you put that on the end of the valve, and then you just put this in a drill chuck for a drill, and that's how you lap the valve. You don't have to sit there and spin it or do any of that stupid stuff. So we're going to do that, and I'll probably walk you through on how to do at least one of them. And after everything's said and done, I do have to wait on a valve spring compressor. I've got this one. I was trying to find my big tool, but I've got just the little tiny one. So if that doesn't do it, we're going to wait for the new one to show up tomorrow. That's the big C-clamp design, and we'll get cooking. All right, let's give it a shot. Okay, since we went ahead and proofed our first two just to make sure that we knew everything that we were doing beforehand before we say something to you, now we are going to go ahead and do the next two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-treat these with just a little bit of compound, okay? We don't need a whole lot, because really we're just grinding that face to match. I'm also taking a little bit of assembly lube and putting it on the stem just to not screw up that guide. You are still going to have the seal that we are going to install after we grind these, but we're just going to go ahead and sit that right in there just like that. Spin it a little bit just to get it started. Nothing too crazy. Then we're going to do this again. What I am doing is, after I do grind these, I am taking them back out and wiping off the compound as much as possible. Ideally, you know, if you were, for whatever reason, not able to get all of it out, it doesn't really matter. This is on the cylinder combustion. This is on the cylinder head, so I mean, it's going to burn all this crap out. In theory, you would just want to get it as good as you can, just to give it as best a shot as possible to go ahead and pull everything out. So now I'm going to rotate to right here. I'm going to try to get this so that you can take a look and see. But right there, the two studs, I'm doing them as a pair since they're in the same chamber. That way I can get all of the material out. But we're going to go ahead and take a drill just like this. Let's see. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that you're all in focus right there, and then I'm out of the way. So all we're doing is, this is you just match your hose size just to something that actually wraps around just like that, and then we go ahead and hit it with the drill. I have my finger pushing in the valve on the other side. I'm gonna go the other way now. And just like that, that's pretty much it. So you will hear a little bit of a tone difference. That's how you're supposed to be able to tell if the valves are grinded, as well as some of the shininess should go away and it should become more dull as you are basically grinding that flat. Okay, And just like that, I got a little bit of material from that hose on there just because I'm putting some pressure on there. Here you can go ahead and see right what we're talking about. Now you'll see a little bit of this valve grinding compound starts to become a little bit more loose as some heat's added in, but then we just go ahead and push the valve back out as such. Go ahead and take a look and clean all of it up just to verify right here. But that is, you can see in there, don't know if it's gonna allow you to take a look, probably not a whole lot, but with that being said, yep, you can see right there that it's starting to get a little bit more dull, as well as just take a little bit of paper towel, wipe this out just as such. I mean, if you want to, you can hit it with a little bit of brake clean or a parts cleaner, whatever you prefer, to wipe this out. But you can kind of see that the nice shiny surface is actually now, at least at this part, is now a little bit more grinded as intention, because this is how you lap valves. So we're going to do this on both sides, and we're going to clean everything out. Then, before I go too far on this, I'm going to put the valve stem seals on. I actually ordered 2 kits because I learned from my 302 time that that I definitely needed more, and went ahead and I'm going to put those valve stem seals on. Then after everything's said and done, we're going to put the valve springs back in place and go to the next set. So thankfully, being a 6-cylinder, we only have to do this basically 6 times rather than 8, so that's kind of nice. So I'm going to keep moving forward on this and keep cruising along, and we'll wrap back once we have everything said and done on this valve grind job. But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward, pretty good.
Hey guys, Zach here. If you've enjoyed this content, please consider leaving a like, dropping a comment below, or even clicking that subscribe button. Alright, thanks so much.
Okay, so I just got done with the cylinder head. We've got all the valves in, we've got all of the valve springs already ready to go. The second one will be up on deck here in a second, but I wanted to show a little bit more of that crazy crack. So I'm trying to get it so that the camera can see that. But if you take a look right here, you can see it just keeps going, and it's this entire spot. Let's see, on this side you can also see it, and I don't know if that's really anything, but yeah, oh man, you could actually see that a chunk's missing right there. So it's actually insane how much that really does it. So we're gonna do this other cylinder head, and sorry, give it a second to refocus. Right there, we're gonna get the other cylinder head kind of like right now, just like that. We have 2 completed heads. So we went ahead and saved the retainers, the top pieces, as well as the springs off the old one. If we take a look in there, you can see again that crack up there. Just absolutely crazy that could be the cause. If you're seeing all this yellow stuff, this is all what was coming out of these heads and is in the block that I've got to clean out, I assume, from this crack. So I assume that this was allowing stuff to get in there and that was causing the issue. But now that we have all of the heads, now we have both of the heads with all the valves all lapped, all ready to go. I'm just waiting on a dingle ball hone to show up so I can cure the 2 cylinders that I have right now, at least give them a fighting chance to seal and not burn any oil, and then we'll be good to start slapping this thing all back together. So I am gonna have to degrease the motor. I might do some sandblasting on, say, like the valve covers, just because they kind of look bad, but beyond that, we're kind of in the wrap-up phase now of where we were at. So we're going to wrap everything up. We're going to get the motor all done. That way we can put the motor back into the truck, because since we're not doing any other performance upgrades, I don't even think I'm going to pull the camshaft on it, but I am going to change out the timing cover just to make my life easier later on. Once we get all that wrapped up, then we got to figure out what's going on with this transmission. What is going on today, guys? So we are back out in the garage. We've got a huge mess going on. As you can kind of see, I've been working. Went ahead and pulled out the rotating assembly out of the 4-liter Ford motor. I actually just got done using a dingle ball hone on this cylinder and this cylinder, which were those bad cylinders due to the head casting. And to be honest, this engine looks great. I'm not even going to bother pulling the camshaft out. I'm not worried about it. The biggest thing I'm worried about is this kind of crap that you can kind of see that's in here. We did find out that this freeze plug was actually a block heater. So I went ahead and pulled that out, went and grabbed a new freeze plug. So I'm going to pound that one in. And then I'm going to keep cleaning this thing. I need to go through and I'm going to fill this entire motor with water and then through the ports right here on the side, and then have it kind of splooge all the stuff out that's gross in there before I do reassembly. But in theory, now that we've dingle balled it, we've got everything good to go. New cylinder heads are ready to rock. We are going to probably put this motor back all together. I did grab some paint, so we're going to paint it. Right now, if I come over here to, I'm just letting some stuff soak in some, this is just some Simple Green solution. So I'm just letting that kind of all soak a little bit just to loosen it up. I'll probably need to do sandblasting on that timing cover, but for the most part, we're rocking and rolling. So we're going to keep moving forward on there. Once I get to the full reassembly, I'll probably end up putting the rotating assembly back in this off camera. But once I get everything said and done, we'll be in good shape. So I do also have a new Cloy's timing kit for this, and thankfully everything seems to match up pretty much right on the money there. One quick thing I always like to showcase is the differences between the new and the old timing chains. There wasn't any suspect on this timing chain. This isn't the single overhead cam ones, but if I were to move some of this junk out of the way, put this right here for you, if you can see a little bit. So here are your chains right there. The easiest way is to line them up bar for bar, and I'm actually going to rotate this for you. And then once you stand them up like this, you can kind of see about how much more worn the new one is versus the old one. And you know, I'm kind of doing a little bit of a bad job getting these to 100% go, but with that being said, you can clearly see that the old one is worn at least a touch more than the new one. So we'll put the new timing chain in and be good to go.
Hey guys, Zach here. If you've enjoyed this content, please consider leaving a like, dropping a comment below, or even clicking that subscribe button. Alright, thanks so much.
We have been very, very busy off camera getting a bunch of stuff done for the Ford Ranger. So here is the motor. It is looking really good. We got all the timing set. I think I recorded that. I did get a new harmonic balancer. That one's the old one. We've got, and I apologize because this is a huge mess, but we've been painting stuff. We've got the new heads. We've got a lot of good stuff. New oil pan right there. So now we're going to go through the semi-complicated process of putting the heads on the motor. Normally putting heads on is not a very complicated process. However, with these 4 liters, from what I am reading, okay, the head gaskets are directional on there, so you have to put the top, see how it says top front right there, and then top front right there. Even though they look identical, they are not. So that is, you have to orientate them correctly. Once you do that, you actually have to put the heads on. You get them mostly torqued down from what I've seen, and then you need to put the intake on, as it creates a wedge for positioning. Again, it's a little bit strange, but with that being said, I mean, it's not a huge deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to coat the head gaskets with good old copper spray gasket, and then we're going to work through this as quickly as we can, but at the same point, we want to make sure that we're getting it as correct as we can. And then ideally, I'm going to get the oil pan over there installed, and then more or less the motor is going to be pretty much together. I still need to go through and do the timing cover, which isn't a huge deal, harmonic balancer, and then we need to do the rear main. I do have there's a specialized tool for the rear main that I have coming in, so we'll get that in, we'll put that on, and then pretty much this is all going to be good to go. Then we're going to put on the new flywheel and clutch, because we are swapping this one to a manual. I don't know if I've said that or not yet, but we're swapping it to a manual. I've had the manual transmission for this motor for almost 2 full years, because it's been like a year and a half since I drove this. So we're going to take off the transfer case off of the 5R55 over there, put it on the M5 ODR1, which I believe is the Ranger one, or maybe it's the R2, whatever it is. I have the correct one. I pulled it from a 96 4-liter 4x4, so it's the exact correct one, and it should go pretty straightforward. And then we're going to have to figure out what we need to do in the inside of the truck, because we need to hopefully we don't have to change a column. I don't think so. I did leave the neutral safety switch in neutral, so I should be able to just reconnect it in theory, not have to really worry a whole lot about the computer or anything along those lines. So, but we're gonna see. I mean, we might have to get a computer, who knows, but we're gonna get this all situated and set and good, and hopefully get it all sealed up, as we have, I think, everything. So let's get started. Okay, so I think I have everything ready to go. Here is kind of the order of operations. Basically, you get everything installed. So heads on, then intake, all bolts hand tight. Okay, there's no sealant required on the head bolts from everything I can see. On the intake bolts, you do want to use a Loctite, just because they like to back out. They're only like 16 foot-pounds. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to put the heads on after we apply the coating on the head gaskets. We're going to go ahead and put the heads on. We're going to put all the bolts in hand tight. I do have all of the head bolts sitting in some oil, just to make everything nice and crisp for the install on that. Once we get all of that on, we're going to put the lower intake on with the gasket. You do have to put in some silicone directly at all 4 corners. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I've got some blue RTV for that, as well as I've got the gasket sitting right here for it. So we should be in good shape there. After everything is said and done, you hand tighten all of the intake bolts. Then you torque them to 5 foot-pounds. Okay, then you go and do the first pass on all the head bolts. So the first pass is 59 foot-pounds. They are a torque to yield bolt, so you always want to use new ones. Okay, then we're going to go 8 foot-pounds. Then we need to go back to the head bolts, and we need to do 85 degrees from whatever position it is. So basically almost a full quarter of a turn. Then we go 12 foot-pounds, and then we go 16 foot-pounds. So it's pretty straightforward and easy. I'm going to get a little hot. It's almost 90 degrees here today. I think, yeah, it's saying 88 right here. But I'm going to go ahead and get all this situated and done, and then we're going to be in good shape. I'm going to double check one last time, see if there's an intake torquing sequence, because there might be, and if there is, I'll go ahead and follow that, and I'll flash it on the screen at the beginning. Here is the lower intake bolt sequence. So we're going to still follow the other procedure that I already made up, but that's the sequence. Front of the engine, basically, so if you look at it right here, it goes 1, 3, 5, 6, 4, 2. Nice and easy because I'm at the front of the motor. Okay, copper spray gasket's on, timer is on, we're starting right now. Okay, now that we've got the heads on, we've got our RTV. We're going to apply it in these corners right here. Okay, so we don't really need a whole lot, but it's to cover this right here. There we go. And then I'm still going to apply a little bit to the China walls as well. We're using blue because it's what I got. Okay. Gasket, it can only go on in one direction. There we go. And then at the same spots, we're going to go ahead and add some more gasketing material right here, as well as right around here. There we go. Okay, let's plop this down. There we go, that looks great. Now, I'm going to... I didn't have the wrong intake bolts, you did! I got them that way. Now we're going to go to 5 foot-pounds. I'm just following the head bolt torque spec, or torque sequence, because I only had 6 on there beforehand, which I thought was right, and it was not. Okay, that's 5 foot-pounds. Now we're going to 59 foot-pounds on the head bolts. Now we're going to go from 5 foot-pounds to 8 foot-pounds on the intake bolts. Okay, and now we need to do our 85 degrees on the head bolts. Easiest way, get yourself perpendicular. Now that all the head bolts are done, we're going to go ahead and do the intake. So we have to do that in 2 stages. We're going to go to 12 foot-pounds from 8. So 12, and then we're going to finish at 16. And we are done putting the heads on. Okay, so fun fact. You want to orientate the valve cover gaskets with the valve covers. You can see what I mean when you do it. Also, when you are doing all of this job, I caught it at the very last second, thankfully. Okay, you need to make sure that the crank position sensor, or I should say it's actually the cam position sensor, that drives your oil pump is installed prior to you putting on the upper intake. If you, just like me, if you had been going through this, working on it, and you didn't do that, quickly undo your valve covers, and these, you can lift it up just enough without having to fully remove it on there to slide it in and then put it all back down, torque it back to 16 foot-pounds. So since we use this to locate the heads, all that's all done, and it's not a big deal. So the heads are already torqued down, they're not going anywhere on there. We were able to grab it while the silicone is still tacky, so we're still in good shape there. Worst case, if not, you know where the leak's coming from and you know how to address it. So I just want to get that put out there real quick. So now the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to put on the front timing cover. I need to do this so I can put the oil pan on and finish up kind of for tonight. So I need to go and put the timing cover gasket on. It's just a paper gasket, so we're just going to coat it with RTV, and then we're going to go ahead and put that on the front piece right here. And yeah, we're pretty much getting pretty close to being done. And what I meant by all that is, haha, psych, we forgot to put in the valve train. Whoopsies, happens. Now, ideally, you're going to be putting these all back into the same locations that they came out of. If not, it is what it is. These are solid bars. I don't see any reason why you would have any issues. But that's my take on it, which is probably not super correct. But at the same point, again, I just don't see how it would matter. But do with that what you will. I did run these through an ultrasonic cleaner on both sides because I wanted to see if these did have oil passages, which they don't. Since they're just a piece of metal, I really, again, I don't see how this could matter at all. But again, do so at your own peril. I mean, that's pretty much all I can say about that. So now I'm going to take the rocker stud assembly on here, and I'm probably going to, let's see, this before it come out. Yeah, I'm going to just put a dab of assembly lube on these just to kind of do everything. The cups will fill with oil, so I'm not really super concerned about that side of things, but we're just going to put a little bit on here. And then maybe for good measure, we'll put it on the actual tip that touches the valve. Right there. And I'll double check here in a second what the torque spec ought to be for these. Just because I don't know it right off the top of my head. But let's get this fully lined up. Okay, it looks like these are just 46 to 52 foot-pounds. It says in equal stages. So we'll go ahead and get these all installed. I went ahead and made sure that all that fits in there nicely. Okay, nice and easy. And now we'll just double check to make sure that all of that is ready to rock. All these look good. I'm going to go through one more time and put some more RTV on because I made my mistake. So I'm going to go through and do the other side, and then we'll go to the timing cover. Okay, so we just got done putting in our new front seal as well as gluing in the gasket with some right stuff. So now we are going to slide it on. I do have my handy dandy Chilton manual to see exactly what studs go where. So go ahead and get that one started. And go. Alright, and now same thing. I'm going to have to come and glue on my water pump gasket after I take all of these bolts out here. Okay, now that we've got the gasket glued on, time to put in the brand new water pump. And then all of the bolts torque to, it looks like 8 foot-pounds. Just tiny little ones. Okay. Water pump is on and good to go. There we go. I mean, that's pretty much on there. We'll double check the torque, but overall, I mean, everything looks good. So now the last part, the oil pan. Oh, actually, I'll put this one on too, the water filler neck thingy-ma-do, but we'll do that off camera. Okay, and then finally for the last piece, now that we got the harmonic on, we got the water pump on, we're gonna put on the oil pan. So, funny enough, on these 4 liters, they full on tell you that you have to completely remove the engine to do the oil pump or the oil pan. So, I'm going to do as best as I can. I'm going to put a little bit of gasket material here where the timing cover meets, right around the edge here, because I want this thing to seal. I do not want this leaking. And then I'm going to put a bunch in this channel, because I had to remove it, and I think that that's what Ford did to begin with. So we're going to just put a little bit right there, and then we're going to tack this channel pretty good in the back. Okay, now I'm going to do the oil pan gasket first, and then I'm going to come back and do the full oil pan. go. And again, we're going to get these corners real good because we don't want there to be pretty much any chance of this leaking. And last but not least, the pretty oil pan. So, just making sure we get a nice good uniform smush all the way around. Getting these in. These only take 5 to 7 foot-pounds, and there's about 1 million of them. That's what it feels like. Okay, that's it. We are done for tonight.
Hey guys, Zach here. If you've enjoyed this content, please consider leaving a like, dropping a comment below, or even clicking that subscribe button. Alright, thanks so much.
What is going on today, guys? So, apologize for the sweat. It is still hot out here. I think I'm reading it's 83 out in the garage right now, so we are a little bit warm, but we've been working on getting up some stuff all kind of cleaned up for the 4-liter that's going to be going in the Ford Ranger, and now we are working on the transmission. So, this trans is a 5R55. This is the standard that goes behind the 4-liter Cologne. We had picked up way last year a manual trans. This one happened to come out of a 96, but they're, from everything I've read, they're all identical all the way up until 2000. So this is an M5 OD, basic same iteration of what came behind the F-150s. This is an R1, and I think that this is just the standard, and then they later went on to the R1, or maybe they went on to the R1 HD, and then the F-150 one that fits the small block is an R2. I might have that flip-flopped, but I think 2 was the F-150s, 1 was the Rangers, because the Rangers had them beforehand. It's a Mazda design transmission, so should be good. It's 4-speed plus overdrive, so it's a really good little unit. So I was able to convince some of the guys at my work to be able to extract a broken bolt that I had here. So we do have a new mount already on there, ready to go. And then I did clean up this surface up top with just a Brillo pad, just to make it all look nice. I can't tell, but I think that there's supposed to be a gasket there, so I'm just going to use some Right Stuff gasket maker. Since I took off the whole output shaft housing, I did reseal it with some Right Stuff as well, just a little bit, just to make sure it's not going to leak. So, however, now we need to pull the transfer case off. So I went ahead and pre-took off the other 4 bolts, but we have one last remaining unit right here, and I kind of don't want to take off this mount because, as I learned on the other side with that transmission, they like to break, unfortunately, even though they're a 1/2-inch bolt. So what I'm likely going to do is I'm probably going to try sneak in there with just a ratcheting wrench to be able to get this divorced, and then we can get it all mounted up on the new transmission. Once it's mounted up on the new transmission, I need to like reseat the shifter housing, make sure the gasket there is good, and then we can put on like the slave cylinder, and that's ready to go back in the truck. So that's kind of cool. So we're kind of wrapping up on this. I was going to do the motor mounts, but the motor mounts look like I have to drop the front axle, and to be honest, they're pretty tight, so I was going to change them because they're like 10 bucks a piece. I'm not going to change them though if that's the case. So we're just going to keep moving forward and going on. Before I did, because this bolt, it was this one right here, stripped out the threads, I did throw this bolt in here because it's the one that's kind of quote-unquote captive with that, just to make sure that I could leave this mount on going forward, and I think we're in good shape. So I'm going to work to get this transfer case off. We're going to double check to make sure that nothing else is needed. I can already see a gasket there, so there's that. But beyond that, we're just going to keep on cruising. So let's get to it. So now we got that all covered up and in a satisfactory manner. Time to just drop this thing on there and it should be good. I'm really not too concerned about the wobble of putting this on there, but with that being said, who knows, maybe it'll fall on me, hopefully not. Thankfully this thing's pretty light for what it is, so So probably one last thing that people have questions now that we've got this all wrapped up and everything about. So I'm going to measure from the end of the tail shaft adapter, so it's going to be this housing piece is what I'm referring to the flat of the bell housing. So it looks like on the automatic, if I keep it totally straight, we're at 29.25. And on the manual, we're at like 29.1/8. So for the most part, since these have collapsible drive shafts, since they're four-wheel drive on there, I should be entirely fine to just bolt this in using the exact drive shafts that were on this puppy right here. Since they were connecting to the transfer case, not to the transmission, I don't need to worry about any yoke adjustments or anything along those lines. It's just going to bolt up, so it's going to be pretty nice. I don't foresee having any issues with the mount itself. I don't believe that they were different from truck to truck, but if they are, I guess I'm going to have to find out.